flickering still, but not as bad as it was. Okay, so here's Miss Meg's lace. Okay, let me open up the other one. We saw Judy stitch out. And, okay, so we've got, let me see what else we've got in here this week. Okay, reverse applique from Gloria. And we've got 2 from you, so I'm not sure what the difference is. So,
don't know either.
okay, so here's the first one. Let me turn off all the beads here.
I think the one was just what I did on the computer, and then the other one was a stitch out.
Good, yes.
Oh, okay, so that might be a JPEG. I'll have to look. Okay, the only thing, looks...
No, I sent it to you on the as a
ESX
file.
Okay. The only thing you'd have to edit a little tiny bit to see your lines right here showing. I'd make this satin stitching a little bit wider, like in here.
Okay.
Just to make sure those lines are covered, and then maybe edit those lines. And I always forget you're kind of you're a newbie here, so let me zoom in and I'll show you how to edit. Okay, so see there's the red line. The easiest way to get it would go, go to view and then sequence view. And, then you can pick that red line or that blue line out real easy. And if you turn on, your beads here, show dots. Okay, you get those little blue dots, right? And you could just do it real quick and just pull them under a little bit. Okay? But see how you end up with that problem?
Right.
Okay, so what you'd want to do instead is go into, it's called Vertex Select. So when you select this, see how you get the little handles? And then you can kind of bend that. You can still pull the nodes, okay? But you can bend this so that that line goes underneath. And that keeps it, but I'd still make that a little bit wider. And, the center node is the one that's going to let you pull it, back into place, right? And these ones on the handles on the sides are going to be the one that lets you, adjust that arc so that it stays hidden underneath.
Okay.
So, okay, so let me open this up. And
you should have gotten my other applique. I sent in another one. The other one, I finished it. You said you didn't get.
Let me see, because there's Best Lace. Okay, I shut down the Adobe's form, so I'll look and see. I can go back into that real quick. Okay, so now see, this one's a little bit, it's a little fatter here. So your lines are hidden really well here. Okay, now, the one thing to remember to do is go back to like your 1-to-1, right? And just double check your size. And the other way you can do it is you can go to View and then Display Hoop and then load your hoop in here. Okay?
Oh, sorry.
And that way it fits. With yours is good, it fits. All right, so let's go in and open up. Let me see, I have 3 laces. 1, 2,
I don't know what
3.
happened to the stitch out.
Okay, let me turn off this. Oh, good job. Gloria, she's getting to be my star pupil, her and Judy this week.
Wow. Well done.
Very good.
When I stitched that out, because I changed the density like 1 notch so it wasn't real tight. But when I stitched that out on netting, it didn't stitch out that well. It was too loose.
Was it tighter?
Well,
was it tighter, Glow?
No, it was too loose when I stitched it out on netting. But then my netting was a larger hold netting too, so I tried it with a smaller netting, and then I changed it to a tighter density, and it seemed like it stitched out a little bit better.
The one thing you might want to do is see how you have your underlay with just the contour, or I think just perpendicular. What you might want to do is change that underlay to, okay, so you have contour, which is just going around the edge, and put some perpendicular lines in there, like 2 or 3 lines depending on the size, because you're really building a base for it to sit on, see? And I'll bet that'll stitch out a lot better.
Okay.
And that's, so, because even if I look at this, the density's a little low, but it's not bad, But I would try giving it a better base to sit on with those running stitches.
Okay.
All
That
right.
really is a pretty design. That's a beautiful design.
That's beautiful. You did a
Okay.
great job.
Here's the
You sure
second
did.
one.
That was just, I did one and then I copied and pasted it and flipped it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so
worked out
that
well.
one's blank. I'm not sure why that one's blank. Okay. This one might be blank too. It says no information available. Let's see. Nope, this one's got something in it. No, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm not sure why those were blank. Okay, so, okay, here's Bess.
That's not what they're-
Okay, so on this, whoops.
It was mainly just a practice
Yeah,
because
most of it's like just sequencing stuff, like in here. You know, just most of it's sequencing. I can't even talk today. Hold on. Let me get... Okay, so... I'm trying to get...
I did mostly duplicate. And
Yeah.
that, instead of copy and paste, I
Uh-huh.
did duplicate.
Oh, okay.
That seemed to work.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was
You know,
trying copy paste. It didn't work for me. It worked for me on duplicate.
yeah, other than, you know, basically it's kind of sequencing and then maybe thinning up these lines in here. And then it's just a different fill, basically, on here. That's it.
Okay.
And stuff.
I had problems with my scallops. I tried the right click, then left click, and it still wasn't working right for me.
Oh, you know why? Because I'll bet you're like, see how small your image is?
Make it bigger.
Right, make it bigger. And then this whole thing would be easier to work with.
It sure was.
Yeah, you got to remember to rescale. Go to 1:1 and then rescale that image so that, you know, it's a lot easier to work with. Trying to punch something this little is really difficult. And, you know, no matter what you do, it's going to look clunky, you know.
Mm.
And, you know, so that'll make it a whole lot easier. But that's why, like, see on this right click, left click? That's
Yeah.
why you're having that
It
problem.
was too small. Yeah,
Right.
I was just practicing, so I knew it wasn't right totally what I was doing, but it was just a practice.
Yeah, when you do the right click, left click, when it's this size, right, it's a lot easier. Like if you're going, you know, well, we were doing the steel line, that's right. So if you go left click, you know, right click, left click,
Oh, Nancy's there.
and then remember to do that little step over left, and then go up, okay?
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, that's what I need to do.
right, because what happens is it loops upon itself. See how it's looping? And so you got to remember that little extra step. And even if you make it big like this, right, and then scale it down, that's still easier than working with that little teeny tiny image.
Mm.
Oh, I see what I did.
Okay.
That works better.
Yeah. And
Yes.
working with that little tiny image is just a real bear. So, okay, and I think, Miss Nancy, how are you doing?
Where's a late note?
Yeah.
I am fine.
You know, we want to know why you're late.
Well, because
Well, now wait, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't.
yes, I like that. But what do you mean?
You know, she might be right. That we might not want to know now that I think about it.
I'll be glad to share. What do you want me to write on there?
Right on what? On the,
It's got my forms up there.
right. Yeah, I'm going to hunt down Best Applique. Because she
Oh,
said
I
she
thought
sent an
you-
applique and, you know, you can fill out all the forms you want. I'd love for you to fill
Yes,
out one and
yes,
attach your
wow.
homework.
I have
I'll
done
be back in a minute.
So you could
It
fill out
said
some,
best flower or something.
okay. So you
There
could,
it is. Best flower homework.
missing it.
See it? All right, go down a little further. It's near the end on that one. It's where you have three best.
Okay,
We
best
do
redo, app
purse.
design, best flower. Okay.
The flower
Download.
is what I revamped.
Okay. All right, so I got to put the extension on this. Okay, save it. All right, so let me close this out, and then we'll go reopen the Exquisite and open up Best Flower. Okay, here we go.
I like that.
Now that's a lace. There it is.
Yep. Yeah, the screen's, there's a delay, I think, on that. Okay, so on this, okay, the image doesn't come in, so it makes it kind of hard. But on this, see how thin that line is? When you're doing applique, you definitely want to take that line to about a minimum of 3, okay? 3 to 3.5 to make sure that you cover up your fabric, okay?
Okay. Okay.
And then like these lines in here, you have to decide, do you want those to be satin stitch or do you want just those to be running stitches?
Yeah, I wanted to be satin, but I didn't make it thick enough. I should have used 3 on it. Instead of just the 1 or 2. I see what I did.
So, Miss Nancy, did you get your lace homework? Was it any easier using the bigger image?
No, I didn't attempt it. I just enjoy watching everybody else's.
Well, I've got to show you, since you missed Miss Judy's stitch out, I'm going to show you Miss Judy's stitch out here.
The blue one.
All right, let me find it.
Was there 2, was there? I missed one.
Okay, here we go. This is the
I
stitch
like that,
out.
Gloria, my favourite pupil. I'll give you a peanut butter badge later, Gloria.
Okay.
Gloria and Judy, Judy and Gloria are running neck and neck for my star pupils here. So
Well, we could be north and south. I mean, we could.
that's true. That's true.
This here.
Okay, this is Judy's stitch out of her lace.
She did a beautiful job, much better than mine.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That wouldn't be hard.
Well, listen, I apologize, but I just, for some reason, I just have stay behind-itis. And I just can't. I just am not interested in doing that stuff.
But see, once you did this stuff, then the other stuff that you are interested in would be so much easier.
But if I can pay for it, I will. Then I don't have to worry with it.
That's true. That's true.
I am so sorry, but I have to be honest. I enjoy the company, so y'all just overlook me. I love watching what you all do. Hi, Mary.
Can you go back?
Nancy, do you have your homework for the other
Hold on.
webinars you do?
No.
No. I heard that's supposed to be easier than the Xpressive.
Well, I got my stuff out here, and I'll tell you, I've had a real busy week because my niece's husband has been at death's door for a month.
Oh, that's not good.
And so he just passed away today at lunchtime. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
do we have a webinar tomorrow night?
We do for EQ7, but you're not in that one.
Ooh, hallelujah. Now, who did that?
Okay, this is just an image. Okay?
Are we going to do that?
Yes, we are.
Well, I can handle that, I think.
Okay. We're going to resize this. I'm going to hit backdrop select and, move my mouse over here and hope I hit the vicinity of this since it keeps disappearing. Okay, here's my mouse.
All right, let me ask you this. Why do you do the backdrop select?
because I want to resize this image. I just have to, remember the mouse disappears on this now. And you know what? I'm not going to get it. So I'm going to have to go up here and see if I can backdrop select. Okay. All right. Come on, behave. I did that.
Doing that M's on that lace, I'd spent a lot of time and I could never get it to work, so I said heck with it.
Well, I'll show you how to do the M's again. We'll work on this one. I'm trying to get this. You know what? I'm going to give up on this image thing in about 2 seconds.
Oh no, this is easy. I want to do that.
She's giving you a dose of your own medicine, Barty.
She is.
Don't give up. Don't.
Now, Judy,
Is. Okay.
Yeah.
be quiet. Be
I'm going to
quiet.
do Control I. There.
Gloria,
I didn't
don't
give
you
up,
say a
Nancy.
word.
Aren't you
Meg
happy?
is,
There we
Meg is
go.
just, Meg is so quiet tonight. She understands.
No, Meg's getting her too. Who are you kidding?
Meg was
You're getting
muted.
tea.
Oh,
No, I've got tea, but I've got to get Mum ready for the doctors, and she's got 15 minutes. Actually, she's got 5 minutes to get ready, so it takes her over an hour. So it's,
Okay,
anyway,
now.
What
Sorry, go ahead.
time are you taking her to the L Doctor?
No, Ray is.
Oh, God bless Ray. Tell him I love him.
Well, it's his mum.
That's sweet.
All right.
I don't know.
Are you ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do standalone lace, and this is a very basic image that we're going to work with standalone lace on for the initial concept, and then we're going to move on to a little more complicated image, which...
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
All right, let's do it. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to show you what image we're going to get to. This is our goal, okay? We're going to do something like this,
I'll be back in a minute, ladies.
okay? That's our goal, to get to this, all right? Or maybe something even a little more complicated, or
That's
something
easy.
that looks a little more complicated. How's that? Like that. Okay, because that's standalone lace too, and that's doable in the embroidery software. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
But for now, we're going to start with something very basic and get the basic concept of lace. All right, here, instead of looking at this whole design, I want you to enlarge it, but we're going to just concentrate on these sections, like 2 of these sections first, right? And one of the things that you really need to have for lace is a very good base for it to sit on. When you put your 2 layers of aqua, magic or Vilene in your hoop, don't use that clear plastic, because this will just eat it to pieces. You have to use the woven type of wash away. We're going to go ahead and select our run stitch, go into our settings, and we're going to change this to a triple or bean stitch. Okay? And we'll start off like right in here. We're going to make our base first, and we're going to, punch the hearts here, right? And we don't care if we happen to run back down here again. That's not a big deal, right? Okay, so, that's kind of our base that this lace is going to sit on. It's, one line, one triple run line. And if you need to, go in and turn your points on, and we change the color so we can see those points. And, do a little editing if you need to. We go to vertex select and bow this one in a little bit more. Okay, now what we need to do is make sure that these connect well. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that a couple of different ways. We can do it with our run lines, although, it would be a little clunky in here. We can do it with our zigzag lines, which we should. Or we can do it with the satin lines, which we also should. but you know, you do want some definition here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's our run line. I want you to select the run line, and you know, we're going to go ahead and you can use the you know, copy, edit, paste, and we're going to, you know, paste this right on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go to your settings, and it's going to go from, oh, you know, I always forget I can't do it this way because I can't change it. Never mind. You're going to have to punch this again. So go to your steel tool, right? And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just punch it again. Not a big deal. You know where it ends because you can see that little, you know, X at the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just keep punching this because we're going to make, you know, and you know if you misplace a point, you can backspace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm going to come up, I'm going to go a little bit further, I'm going to come up to here because this is where I really am going to have to make sure we connect, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I don't want my steel stitch that dense, number one, so I'm going to go in and select it, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to change this to about 1.5 millimeters wide. Okay, I don't really need any underlay. You can, you know, if you want to put one line, a perpendicular in there just to be sure, you can, but you really don't need it. The satin stitching, you know, I really don't want it dense at all, so I'm going to drop this down, and I may end up adjusting this, but I'm going to drop it down a couple of notches. And then I'm just going to say okay. And see where I have this problem down here? Let me zoom in. See where I have, you know, that little piece sticking out? Let me slide over here a little bit. Oh, I'm having one of those days. Okay, there we go. See where I'm, you know, right in here I have a problem, right? Well, I'm going to turn on Vertex Select, and I can come in here and I can, you know, I can edit that a little bit. I can either move that or I can use, you know, the little nodes right here, right? Or I can select, because we have two nodes here that are kind of the issue, right?
Mm.
I can select that, and I can convert it to a smooth, which doesn't always help. I can try it, you know, with the other one, convert it to a smooth, and it's not going to help. In that case, I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to move these up to get them in, you know, in line, basically. And, okay, I need the zigzag there for support. But because I've got this line underneath here, you know, I'm not going to worry about that point over much, right? So this is what I end up looking like. Okay, now I could take this zigzag a little bit narrower if I want. But, you know, 1 millimeter is pretty narrow. You know, this is 1.5 millimeters. Let me turn my sequence view. Okay, so if I want to, I can take that a little more narrow. I should be able to go to like 1.25. Okay, and this looks messy, but I'm not going to be real worried about it because I've got two lines there. Remember we came down and then we came back up here? Okay, so that should be a pretty decent base for this to sit on. Now, I'm not going to go all the way across here and build a base. I'm going to do this section by section to make sure that everything connects together because remember, I'm not stitching on fabric. I am stitching on backing only. So there's going to be some shifting. So you're going to do this section by section by section, and instead of, you know, unless you want to put 3 or 4 layers of this wash away, you know, instead of doing a whole big giant run of this, you know, you're going to control how this stitches a little bit better, okay? Now what you could do is we've got this section right here, and when you look at how small it is, it's really pretty small, right? So we could do this whole section, in, you know, in as like our section, right? Does that make sense to you guys?
Uh-huh.
And, it'd just be the same
Uh-huh.
thing. I ended here, so I would just start, with my run stitches in here, right? And if I have to come back around here with a run stitch, not a big deal. So I have a double layer of run. Not a big deal at all. And, this one's going to have a couple of layers and a couple of sections. And we'll end there. Okay, so that's, we go and make sure that it's set on our bean, and we're good. And, I'm going to select it, copy and paste it. Excuse me. And I'm going to move my in and out point. That's that little green node right here. And, we'll move our out point because we can always change this. There we go. Okay. So my in and out points are moved. Actually, my out point should have been okay. Nope. Okay. So we'll move it over here. All right. So we've got, copy and paste. Here's my first layer. Here's my second layer, right? Oh, I forgot we can't do it that way. I'll keep forgetting that I can't do that. So now I'm going to use the still program. Here's my out point right here. And I'll just do, keep repeating, this pattern of, putting my still stitch in. And even if I have a little extra, over here, not a big deal. And whatever settings you end up working with, keep track of them. Like how many notches over did you move, right?
Right. I learned that earlier. I had to write down what I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, we might have the same problem down here, but we're going to go into our settings and, we know that 1.25 was the setting we liked, right? And I think I moved down like two notches. I might have moved 3. We'll try 3.
No, you moved 2.
I moved 2, yeah. Okay, so, we're not too bad down on this point. We just have to watch that when we punch over it. I might, I have my points on. I might want to move that up a little bit, just a little tiny bit maybe. But I'm just going to have to watch that right there, okay? So, and, I would just keep doing this for this section, right? Because if you really look at this lace design, it doesn't connect here. It's connecting down here, right? Now, we're going to connect it here, just to be safe, but, we don't have to.
Where?
Right at this point. We're going to connect here too, okay?
Yeah, I can't see your mouse moving. It's really late.
Okay, right in here.
Mine's late this time too. I have more of a delay than normal.
Okay. Okay, can you guys see the first 3 hearts, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to connect here. The way that we do this image is this should be enough in their mind to connect everything together, but I want to make sure that it stays connected, so we're going to connect here too. That's what I want you to look at, okay?
Okay.
Now, I would do the same thing here. Like here, we're kind of connected a little bit, it's kind of a casual connection, but it's enough. It's enough for right now, right? We would do the same thing here. We'd make sure those looped a little bit there. Okay, so once you get those 3 done, then you're going to do the lace. And, even if I'm just going to kind of copy and paste these 2, okay? And move them down, because they always copy on top. and move this over, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. Power edit.
My favorite tool.
And what I want to make sure is if you do copy and paste, what you want to make sure of is you might have to move your in and out points, number one, but or just put another run stitch in. We'll see what happens once we put these guys in. Okay, see how I overlapped them a little better there?
Why could you copy and paste that when you is it the bean stitch that won't copy and paste, or?
Oh, no, I
Why
can't
could you
convert
copy
it.
and paste
I can't
that?
convert it to, I can't
Zigzag.
convert like the running stitch to a zigzag. Other programs will let me do it.
I
And
see.
this one, I'm going to go ahead and just stretch that over a little bit and, just cheat a tad, right? Okay, so now I've got that connection better here and that connection's better there, right? See what I'm talking about? Okay, so
Right.
we're connected here and we're connected here. Okay?
I'll be damned if I can see your mouse. Oh, now I can
know,
see where you are. Yeah, there you are.
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
They still don't have it fixed right.
No, I guess not. At least we can
Not
see
like it
this.
was.
Yeah, at least you can see the screen this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to look at is like over here, I might want to stretch these guys out a little bit. Because
To make the other one?
to make sure that those meet, right? And if that's the case, I should probably, if I'm going to make like a continuous run, you might as well just go ahead and stretch this baby out too, right?
Right.
Okay, so now we know that, we'll connect over here, probably. We'll check it in a second. But, okay, so here's my first section. I've got this nice little overlap here and nice little overlap here on my two base things, right?
But that first heart bothers me because it's not chubby at the bottom, but up at the top.
Right here, you mean?
Right down at the bottom of the top one.
Right here.
I can't see where you, over.
Okay, let me see. Right here? Right here?
Where's your chubby? Where's that finger? Where? I don't know where. No, the other side.
Right here? Right there?
No,
Side of the heart.
that right there.
Right here.
Yes.
Oh, it'll be fine.
You say so.
I'll be back.
Okay.
No, it's on the other side, not there.
Okay.
I'm
Over here on the left side, right?
on the left, on that. Move that finger over. Can't
Other
you
way.
see
On
where
the right side of the first heart. The right side of the bottom of the first heart.
Right here.
There you go. The right half.
Now go up about 3 inches, 2 inches.
Right here.
Go up. Up a little bit more.
Here.
I can't see where you are, baby girl.
Oh, okay.
No, she's up too high.
Okay, see, to me, I'm looking at them on the screen. They all look about the same.
Well, they
Well,
ain't.
I think what Nancy's talking about is the very first heart that you did on the right bottom side of
On
the
the
heart.
left
It
side.
goes, it kind of indents a little bit rather than coming out. That's what she's.
Okay. Well, when you punch
Talking about.
yours, Nancy,
Yes, ma'am. Mine will be perfect.
okay, there you go. There, is that a little bit better?
No, because you didn't get the right spot.
Okay, well, this is as good as this one's
Leave
getting.
it like it is.
Okay.
All right. I don't think you see what we're talking about.
I know down here it's a little bit more, like this stitch is actually a little less dense, right?
No, it's over on the other side of the heart when it comes down
Right
to
here.
meet at the bottom. From where you connect it with the top heart. Yes, right
Okay.
in there. Pull that over.
Okay. This right here, you're talking about right here. Pull it over like that, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Pull it out.
darling.
Okay.
Yes.
And then actually here, I need to actually adjust, um, but
Mm-hmm.
there we go. How's that? Is that better?
No.
Oh, Miss Fusspot, considering she won't do the homework anyway.
Right, right. I was
Go
thinking of putting all this work into this. And
on and go on with the lesson. I'll get to it. I'll get to it.
I've already
Okay.
started mine.
All right,
Cheat.
so here's my 3 hearts. Nancy's 3 hearts are going to look better, so, right, Nancy?
Yes.
See, now she's made me neurotic, and I've got to adjust these. Okay, so we've got our 3 hearts, and now we're going to put, the lace on it. And, how we're going to do the lace is you can use the steel tool if you want, right? You can, but you might just be better off to use your enhanced column, okay? Because you still have this bar in the middle, right? And we have to make sure that those stitches on the bottom get covered up well. So I would recommend your enhanced column. And make sure that you give enough room in here to cover that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's my first set. The reason I like the enhanced column is because, I can flip back and forth between these tools, and, if I need to, I can run, because I don't want to start on that point, right? I can put a little run stitch in, and then I can come over to this enhanced column, and I can start punching this lace design. And I have a little more control than I do with that steel tool, because you remember, if you come down and you hit those points, right? When you get to here, you can do a left click here, left click down here, and then, you've got that perfect little point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you don't want to go
So you're going to make that.
too much wider than, this, but you do want to make sure that it's covered. And remember, this is going to pull under a little bit too, right?
Mm.
And see, when I come in here, I can do that, like if I didn't catch this good enough, well, I probably need to extend that line, but I can come down here and I can make those adjustments to make sure that everything gets covered much easier using this tool than the steel tool. Okay?
Mm.
See? That's all covered and connected, although, to be honest, I probably would look at this and adjust it a little bit, maybe. Oh, I think I need that one. But, you could even actually use the select now that I think about it and just pull it. See how you want it to overlap? See where the edges are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, now the other nice thing is I also can control my in and out points with this.
Yeah.
Okay, much easier than with the steel tool. So I can come over here and I can tell it to stop right there. See where my red triangle is right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I can just pick back up.
And you just clicked, and Bernie, you just clicked on that red triangle and drug it over there. Is that what
Yep.
you did?
See? Can you see it moving?
Okay. You got the little hand and you moved it.
Yep.
Mm.
The little arrow.
Okay.
You get the hand.
Little, right. The
and you
arrow.
get the little
Right.
arrow. Okay. So,
Right. Okay. Okay.
now, do I need it this dense? The density in this program's a little dicey. You might want to, move it down one, give it some, perpendicular, underlay like 2 lines. But this is what you're going to have to test stitch, okay? When it looks like this, it looks pretty good. But you might not like that density, right? So, it depends on the thread you're going to use. Whoops. hold on, depends on the thread you're using as to, what that density is going to be set at. For right now, I'm going to leave it at the standard density, okay? All right? Is that making sense? Let me zoom in around this.
You know, I have a question, and this is just kind of a general question, but when you're talking about a test stitch, do most of you have your computer connected directly to your machine, or do you, would you put this on your smart media card and then go stitch it and then come back and make changes, or what, what's your process?
I
use a card.
Yeah, I always put it on the card.
Okay.
Since I can't,
I do too, just simply because
since I can't do the cards, I connect directly to the sewing
okay.
machine.
I do the card too, just simply because I don't usually take my computer up in my sewing room, but I just wondered if one was better than the other or whatever. So okay.
Yeah, I used to direct connect, and it's just easier for me to do the card.
Well, I've got 4 machines sitting down there, so I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So, okay, so now we've got this done, right? And I've got to jump here. I've got to jump between this and then this, right? And so if you want jump free, let me change, so you can see what's going on here. I'll change this color. If you want to be jump free, right? See, I had that jump going from here to here. You can always do the running stitch. It's not going to make a big difference if you, add another line in here to get back over to, where you're going to start stitching, right? Okay? So, and that would just go, right there. Okay? Does that make sense?
Would that go under your... Yeah.
Right.
Never mind.
There you go. Okay, so, whoops. Let me undo that. Let me change this color too. I thought I changed it, but... There we go. Okay, so, now I don't have that jump, right? And you're going to have to play with this density a little bit. Okay, you might want to adjust it. If you find that this is too heavy and it's too rigid after you wash your lace out a little bit, adjust the density of these 2 pieces, but do something maybe like this. Hold on, let me get down to that. If you want to adjust this density so it's a little bit softer, bump this down 1. Go to your underlay and maybe tell it you want, contour and 3 lines of perpendicular. Okay?
All right, can I ask a question real quickly? When you did that running stitch, you moved that above the heart itself.
Right. What I did was, here's my first 3 sections. They all connect together well, right?
Right.
Okay, and then... this section over here, see where my little red triangle is over here? Okay, what happened is I went in right here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what happened was, instead of, making my run line first because I forgot, I immediately went to this piece. So I had a jump from here to here. Okay, so what I did was, I made that, I made the stitch come up like this and followed this path, right, to here, and then I just moved it, into the right stitching order over here.
I got you.
Okay, so play with the density, but, don't be afraid to, like, you can see underneath here, I've got, enough thread underneath here, right, that it's, kind of filling in the blanks where my density is, right?
But you don't want it to be so heavy on a very lightweight piece of fabric.
Right. You don't want to be so heavy on lightweight. So that's what I'm saying. You might have to play with your density, but don't forget you can still add underlay to it if you need to. Okay? So play with those settings a little bit to get what you want.
Right. So what are you going to do with that middle that is so puffed up?
Oh, right here? I'm just going to let you guys change it.
Oh, you just are so wonderful to us.
I know. Okay, so now I'm going to control my in and out points, right? Here's my in point, here's my out point, right? And I'm going to, you know, I can copy and paste. But remember, this bar comes first, right? So if the bar is coming first, you know, get a little run line in here. And take that over to here. Okay? So now there's my out point. So now all I have to do is copy. And, you know, here's these three pieces, right? I can just copy them, you know, especially if I copied and pasted all the way across. And right click and go to your power edit. And then it's just a matter of lining it up. And remember, it pastes everything on top, so you're going to take that and you're going to drag it to the bottom, right? And if you get confused and you want to make sure you're dragging the right thing, go to select, and with that still selected, change the color so it's easier to find, because then you can go like this and then change it back. Okay? And, you know, because I made this heart and then made this heart, they don't match up, but, you know, I'm assuming you guys are going to copy and paste, right? Okay,
You do the editing.
So now I've got, you know, that second heart series right here. And, you know, if you need to, it's easier, just change the color and leave the color changed until you're ready to stitch, right? And you would just move it into place. But see where, here's the overlap, right? Right in here is an overlap. I need that overlap.
I'm going to leave for about 5 minutes and go out to my house and get a ham, and I'll be right back before it gets dark.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right, so I need the overlap here. Okay.
I would have thought we had enough hams here.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, isn't you? It's in the freezer, and I meant to get it out, and it's getting dark, and I'm scared to go out there when it's dark.
She completely missed it.
So, so, you know, if you change the color, right? If you change the color, then, you know, you can kind of select that and just copy and paste it. But, you know, you have to watch where you stop at. Let me zoom back in. Okay. The piece that we're looking at as to where we stopped at, let me turn my beads back on, is going to be this piece, this last piece, right? And if you can't pick it that way, then go down here and, you know, click on it here. So here's my out point. All you're going to do is move that out point, right, to make sure that there are no jumps. And then you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to make a little run line over. Okay, there's my run line, right? See? Oh, I just saw Judy Stone. And then you're just going to select this, right? Same thing. Edit, copy, edit, paste. And remember, it goes on top, but if you remember to change the color, that makes it so much easier. Go to select and then change the color, which I always forget to do. And then you can collapse these and just move that down. right? And then right-click, go to Power Edit, rotate it into place, and you can, left-click and hold that mouse and move it into place and still use that Power Edit. And you want to have that overlap. You don't need a giant overlap. You just need enough overlap in here to make sure that those stitches are catching. And remember, because we extended this, we now know that this will overlap as well, right? Okay, so here's what we've got. I'm going to turn off the bead so you can see it better. Here's what we've got. Now you've got all of this done. And the next thing you have to worry about is, going to that next section. And since we're just going to pick this all up, what you need to know is, where did this section start? Remember the first section? And because that section, I need to get used to my zoom tools in this program again. Okay, because this first section, turn on your beads to find out, it doesn't matter where it starts or stops on our first section when you really come down to brass tacks, right? It doesn't matter because it's underneath. You could put that endpoint on that first section right there. And then you're going to look at this last piece. Where's my out point? I could put my out point right there. Okay, see what I'm doing? My endpoint on this first piece was right there. My out point on that green piece is right here. Okay? So, now I can just left click and drag all the way around those and change it all to one color. And I'll get rid of the bead so you can see it. See, it's all one color now, right? And I would test stitch this and make sure that these all link together. And, these I can tell you right now I've got some issues because I, just copied and paste, right? And I didn't do that originally, like in here, right? I've got some issues. So, but you're going to work on yours and copy and paste from the first one. So now, if you get this section right, I would do a little test stitch, rinse it out, and then, pull on it a little bit, make sure it's going to hold together, right? We still don't have that bottom bar across there, but that's a good gauge right here to see if that'll hold together. If that's going to hold together, you're just going to go Edit, and then copy this whole thing to your clipboard, Edit, paste it. Remember, it goes to the top, so change the color, and collapse these and just drag it down. And then from here, you're just going to drag it over and make sure that there's that overlap in here. And if there's not a big enough overlap, unless you want to be, just right on target with your image, it doesn't matter. If you're happy with this section, it doesn't really matter if this lines up the rest of the way, as long as you get, that connection, right? And I would probably do something like that. And, you do want to make sure it lines up, so I would use your grid, right? So, here's what we have. Let me move this out of the way for you guys. Here's our two pieces, right? And once you're happy with that, then you're going to just change that to the same color. Now you've got two pieces, right? You're just going to select both pieces, or you could just click on this, in this sequence viewer, just click on the color. Same thing, you're just going to copy it, paste it, select it, and change the color. And remember to collapse it and drag that to the bottom, and then it's just a matter of dragging it over.
Can I ask a question a minute? When you copy and paste, is that copying and pasting that bean stitch that's underneath there or not?
Everything. I'm selecting everything.
Okay.
And, the only thing you have to really watch is, I would move these down to a grid, okay? And that way, like if you select all of this and you slide it down to a grid and ignore your image, you can at least make sure it's lined up, right? See? Just make sure you're lined up. I'm a little bit off on this one. I'd slide it down a little bit. But, you know, you can always move that back up. Or if you're worried about it, you can always undo, and go back, right? Okay, so those are connected together. They should be fairly well connected together. If you look at our overlaps here, right? We've got some pretty good overlaps. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really ultimately, you know, basic lace is making sure that things connect and you have a good enough base for it to sit on. Because remember that wash away backing is washing away, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys have any
I'm going to
questions?
step away just a minute. I'll be back.
Okay, you guys have any questions on this section?
No.
Miss Nancy?
You know I'm going to get it done.
Now, everybody, I have a witness because I was recording this, and everybody was here, where you
Heard you
said,
say that.
ooh, I like this image. I'm going to do this one. Am I correct, ladies?
I think I heard that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what? I wish that you would do something like this and give us a chance to do it and then come back on and say, look, I did that. But that
She wants you to do the homework, Bernie.
y'all see, you all know what you're doing, and I don't, because I don't care about it. Go ahead, Bernie. Don't listen to me. Do your lesson, girl.
Okay. All right.
I do send you love messages and let you know
She
that
does.
you just have to tolerate me.
Oh, you know we love you.
Yes,
All
but
right,
you do.
so.
Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I love you.
Chick bugger.
I know that you give a rat's ass whether I do it or not.
Oh, you know I love ya. I've gotten used to you through the years. It's been a long time.
We need to have a face-to-face confrontation.
We do. I'm telling you. I'm thinking like September at Hilton Head. What do you guys think?
Oh, I think Hilton Head would be wonderful.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
As long as we don't, it has an elevator and I don't have to go up and down steps.
Oh, I was thinking you're beach house girl.
Oh, well, that's not a Hilton Head.
What's close to it?
It's a little further north.
Yeah, not too, well, oh, good. You're closer to me then, right?
Yeah.
You'll have to drag Cynthia with you. So, all right,
Oh,
so, I'm sorry? How is she doing, by the way?
She called me this afternoon and wanted to know if I'd opened the cottage up, and I said, no, not yet. I'm ready to go. I said, well, I am too, but I can't get anybody to go with me.
Aw. So, she's still working?
Yes.
Yeah, well, tell her I said hello. All right, now, I want you guys to work on this, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to remember to connect, okay? And, you know, the end of this, like, do this a little more neatly than I did, right? But the tail end of it, if you're going to do that straight line across, you know, okay, go ahead and use the steel stitch, right? And it's only connecting these bottom ones, right? But when you do this steel stitch, remember, you know, we didn't build a base necessarily on that. And so that you don't have this real tight line, have you ever seen lace where that bottom line is so tight that you can't stand it? You know, make this, you know, maybe 2.25. You know, probably won't make much difference. Probably 2.0 is fine. It's going to wrap a little bit. Definitely drop your density down.
And what stitch did you do that bottom, the steel stitch?
The steel stitch, and then give it like 3 lines to sit on, right?
Okay.
Okay, and this is what you end up with. That we'll go through that little stitch ribbon. Okay. Wow, my screen just keeps blinking away. All right, we'll take it from here. Oh, we're on snail's pace. Okay, there we go. Okay, now watch what's going to happen underneath that steel stitch. Wow, that was like grease lightning, huh? Never mind, hold on. We'll do it this way. Because I put in, I put in those 3 lines, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a base there. It comes down here, okay, and then it goes, there's my first line, second line, you can hardly see it, and then, it's got a decent base to sit on, right? And what I did with the steel stitch was this. I went into my underlay, and instead of giving it a contour, I could give it contour and then 1 line of perpendicular. You can do it both ways, or you can just say, what, give it 3 lines of perpendicular. And then that'll give you a base to sit on, but I dropped the density so that it's not so rigid and it's not tighter than the rest of the design. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, I want you to work on this week. Okay? And Judy, you back yet?
Ernie, is that? Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I thought you heard me a while ago. Is that covering up part of the heart then? Would it be a better thing to do that baseline first, or does it need to run last so it connects the hearts?
Yeah, it needs to run last. You probably, if you really want to be very careful, now I do it last because you're going to connect all the way across, okay? And,
Okay.
you won't have these pieces hanging down because you guys are going to be much neater than I was, right?
Okay.
Sure.
So the heart just needs to just sit on that line.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And then that's going to hold all of these together. This piece here will just kind of float. But, as long as you're connected, you're good. You can do this with, like, daisies as well. As long as you're connecting one of those daisies, you're good, right?
Okay.
Even if you do, like, a satin stitching kind of daisy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, where you have something like... like that, right? That would be too wide. You wouldn't want to make it quite this big, but, just to illustrate the point. If you want to lace something like this, you're going to have to give it a base that's a little bit different, okay? You're going to have to give it a whole lot of underlay. For that piece, I'd give it like 8, right? And because you have to build a base for this. All right, this little thin line stuff is a little bit different than this. What I've got here, if you look, and I'll slow this down so you can see kind of what it's doing. What I'm doing is actually building. I probably would manually punch something in for something like this as well. See how much base I had underneath there? See?
Who's got birds?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I see the base now.
Now, what else I would probably do is, knowing that this is how the underlay is going to go, I probably would make my own underlay going this way. And put that first.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you really have built kind of like a fabric and, take it all the way down, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, you really have built fabric for this. But that would go first, okay? So, you've got your base first. And, so you've got that base stitching first. And then, you know, see how it just kind of builds a weave, and then that sits on top of it. Excuse me. All right, so let me get out of this. Now, that's what I want you to work on, okay?
Okay.
Where are we going to put that little thing?
Oh, that's kind of, I'm giving you a heads up for the next section, which is, you know, a little different lace. It's a little softer lace. It's not just with that, you know, have you seen, you know, the open lace, like, that's got, like, the lattice work? And then it's got, you know, satin stitching on top of stuff. That's what we're going to work on next week. So, but this week I want you to work on, you know, that one little design that we just did. So you guys have no questions at all? You guys are getting quiet. It's starting to scare me.
Well, we've been trying to concentrate on what's going on because the screen's not keeping up with what you're telling us. So we're trying to.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to look at the screen a lot longer.
Yeah, sorry
Before
about
we
that.
get through, Barney, I want you to show them what I did with that purse applique. I want them to use. I said that. I think it's something a pillow. I'm making a pillow.
Was it? Oh, okay. Yeah, let me go. I'm going to stop the recording real quick here, okay?